Get off my plane. Air Force One. So Air Force One came out in 1997, directed by Wolfgang Peterson, and the premise is Harrison Ford plays the president. The president's plane, Air Force One, has been hijacked by terrorists. So now Harrison Ford is the lone soldier they don't know about on that plane who's gonna stop him. That's right. The president is the John McClane of this story, and that's just kind of awesome. What a flip, you know? Because you know the initial idea for this movie was, oh, Air Force One's been hijacked, so someone has to save Air Force One. And then someone was like, what if the president is that soldier? I mean, how could you say no at that point? That's just amazing. It's 90s amazing, yes. Also more amazing than 2020 amazing. So there's that. The music's amazing too. That Jerry Goldsmith score, ba 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 ba, it just sounds heroic. It just sounds like the kind of music that someone could play on their campaign trail and get elected. Obviously. It's like the music sounds like it was taken from the DNA of America itself. Ba 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 ba. Like, the only music that would have made this movie better in terms of music. America, fuck yeah! But great music though, and generally the movie's really engaging because of Harrison Ford and Gary Oldman, who plays the bad guy. Neither of them need any introduction at this point, but for Harrison Ford lately, we've seen him get pulled back into movies and franchises he's not really passionate about, but when this dude brings it, he brings it. Second to fucking none, man. It's Harrison Ford. And this was back when that was Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford does a great job in this movie. I mean, from the get-go, he's like, he just completely upends the foreign policy, and he's just like, Harris, your days are numbered. And at worst, people are like, dude, you should have run that by us before you went off script. But generally, they're all like, but we're behind you. We got it. You're you. And among all the semi-important lessons the 90s had to teach us, one of my big takeaways from that decade is that Gary Oldman is one of the greatest actors living and always a perfect casting for a bad guy. When he's calm, he's scary. When he's screaming, he's scary. When he's screaming and he fires a gun at the wall and then screams again, he's scary. Just dude is always scary. And right when he's like, I'm going to execute a hostage every half hour until my demands are met, his demands being he wants this war criminal asshole, he just wants him released because he was just recently captured in Russia. And he makes good on that. That's not a lot of time, so you feel the time crunch. Also, Glenn Close plays the vice president. She's very important because this movie runs into what Executive Decision also runs into for me, which is you have a hostage situation in a plane. It's in the sky. All right, you have the good guys, or good guy in this case, they're in the belly of the plane. And they gotta wait to make their move. Now we wait. Not that the movie doesn't have pacing, not that it's not going forward, but really it's not Harrison Ford versus Gary Oldman the whole time. The main source of tension is Gary Oldman talking to Washington, D.C., everyone in the war room, and they're trying to be like, hey, we need more time. Then Harrison Ford, when he contacts them, but that's the point. It's a lot of talking tension. More talking tension than you would think if you go into this movie thinking, oh, it's a 90s action movie. Which the movie seems very aware of because in the last act it starts throwing plane explosions and more action-esque sequences in this movie than you had before. Other than some rando going down, running across Harrison Ford and then getting taken out. But another thing I always found interesting in this movie about Glenn Close's storyline, you know, the war room dynamics, it starts getting brought up as to whether or not the president in this situation can still be the president. You look at Harrison Ford, really, he's on this plane. He didn't go into the escape pod and escape because his family is still on Air Force One. So as I said in this movie, he's not acting as the president, he's acting as a husband and a father. It's this side arc in Air Force One, but it's an element of this movie that I just always remember. One of the things that always has me scratching my head is there's this guy who's part of the Secret Service, but he's a bad guy, and that's no spoiler. You see this from the get-go. If it was a reveal, that would have been kind of cool. There's no reveal there. He's just obviously the bad guy, and they let you know that early on. The whole time, though, I'm like, what was he offered? What did they promise him? What does he benefit by having this guy released? You kind of get the feeling everyone likes and respects Harrison Ford's character, so this dude just totally goes turncoat What? Why though? Is he Brody from Homeland? Did something happen? It just leaves you scratching your head as to why that happened, but it happened because, well, I suppose if it didn't happen, no one could have gotten on Air Force One. Because in the end, Air Force One's always an enjoyable watch. It's not as iconic to me as like Face Off, Con Air, The Rock, any of that. But every time I watch it, I thoroughly enjoy it. Harrison Ford was great, as was Gary Oldman. You feel the tension in the movie. Doesn't move as much as some of the other 90s action movies, but the tension is there. And the fact that the president is the last best hero to save the president, it's just too good. He's the man's man, the president's president, and this movie is a good time. No alcohol required. All right, so Air Force One. It's on Netflix right now. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.